that time of year again.
It's a musical, and nothing's as amazing as a musical.
So I'm gonna do the same as I did in 2014 and 2013 for this list. I'm going back to doing a straight top 10 ranked list of the musicals that I discovered this year, starting from January to now. It's gonna be a little different because the way I discovered them this year was that I did not use the ActQ Radio app like I did last year. I got just a list of musicals together of the ones that I wanted to discover this year, and I've done that for next year as well, so I already know what I'm going to be discovering next year, which is a little bit of a cheat, but who cares. Obviously last year was unscripted and I went on forever. I'm unscripted now, but hopefully I can be a little bit more concise with my musicals, and there's only 10 as well. But before I go into those 10, let's start off with a few honourable mentions. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. This musical is mainly known because of the 1953 film with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. I have seen that film, and it's very fun. It's a lot of fun. The best parts are the musical numbers, of course. But how I discovered it predominantly is through the original Broadway cast from 1949, starring Carole Channing in the Marilyn Monroe role. It's surprising how good these lyrics are. Like, if you properly sit down and listen to them, they are actually very clever lyrics. And the songs are just sort of old school Broadway. They're not exactly outstanding, but they're decent enough. The lyrics really win for me in this musical. Saturday Night. This is technically Stephen Sondheim's very first professional musical. It was written in 1954, but wasn't properly performed until 2000 because problems with the producer dying and it just sort of being left aside, while Sondheim went on to become the greatest composer of musical theatre. And so he's described Saturday Night as sort of looking back on his baby pictures and sort of cringing at them and not really seeing much value in them. However, this is still incredibly good. You can see some of the troubles that he has with lyrics, and some of the songs are a little bit too unmemorable, but other than that, it's very sweet, very cute, and you can easily see the beginnings of greatness in it. The Wedding Singer. I had to watch the original Adam Sandler film for this because I discovered the musical first. The songs are great. It's a massive throwback to the 80s sound that was used in the original 90s film. And when I did get round to seeing the film, you can see why it can become a musical, because there is so much music in the original. I mean, the main character is a wedding singer, and a lot of the songs were used. They're very obvious music choices for the situations of the film, so why not make a musical with some original songs in it? And the original songs are actually very good. They're very catchy, very fun, not as cringeworthy as you would expect an adaptation of an Adam Sandler film to be, but yeah, I found it really fun, really nice. And Laura Benanti is the main lead female in this, and she has got a great voice, so that's good stuff. And now I shall move on to the actual top 10, so here goes. Number 10, Anything Goes, music and lyrics by Cole Porter. This is sort of a blind spot for me, not as serious as some others that I've discovered this year, but this musical's been around for ages, and it's had so many revivals, so many changes, so many additions. It's just been screwed around with, for better or worse, throughout the 20th century and straight into the 21st century as well. But even with all of the different versions that I got through, at least, these songs are just timeless. They just never get old. There's just something about them, they just feel very familiar. Even if, like, I hadn't listened to them God knows how many times, they're just very catchy, they're very clever, and they're just very timeless. Like, every time I think, oh, what does that song sound like, I'll hear it and be like, oh, of course it's that. It's mainly a star vehicle for whoever plays Reno Sweeney, the main sort of heroine of this story, and she's been played by Mary Martin, Sutton Foster, Ethel Merman, of course, and plenty of other great divas out there. And I must say my favourite song from this is probably I Get a Kick Out of You. You don't realise it at first. You think, oh, it's just a general love song about like being addicted to someone and how much you love them. You don't realise until you put it into the context of the musical and probably listening a little close to the lyrics that the person singing is singing to someone who does not love them back, which is a little bit sad, which is why I kind of like it more. Number 9, An American in Paris. Music by George Gershwin, lyrics by Ira Gershwin. This is obviously the very famous 1951 movie musical, which uses George Gershwin's music posthumously, and it was remade in 2014 as a stage version, completely new, with the songs from the film, as well as some other George Gershwin songs thrown in there as well. And I must say I preferred the film version rather to the stage version. It's very clearly a dance musical, like the main showcase is the ballet at the very end, and the music for that is brilliant, and the dancing for that, in the film at least, is brilliant. I have more to say about the movie because it's more visual than the stage version. I mean, I can only judge the music with the stage version, obviously, because I can't watch the dancing. But I found out that this musical is coming to the West End at the start of next year, and Lord, someone give me money to go and see that stage version. It's George Gershwin's music. How can you go wrong with it, really? I personally like I Got Rhythm, and I also like I'll Build a Stairway to Paradise as well, which is not sung by the main character, Gene Kelly, but his French friend, colleague, rival, whatever, and it's a very old school Broadway jazz hands. I just think it's really great. Gene Kelly in the movie is the most charismatic, charming guy you will ever see on on film. There's just something so mesmerizing about him that when he sings, when he dances, it's just all brilliant, all good, all good. Number 8, The Music Man. Music and lyrics by Meredith Willson. This was the serious musical blind spot that I've carried with me for years now. It's just been like the quintessential, biggest, absolute... I've never seen this musical before, but it's really, really famous. Everyone else loves it, and I should probably get on the bandwagon for this, no pun intended. I've known about this musical, obviously, for a long time, and the song I'm most familiar with from it is You Got Trouble, which was performed by Seth MacFarlane at a BBC Proms year where they did a very special musicals tribute. He performs the song absolutely brilliantly. Like, as a musician, singer, performer, Seth MacFarlane can do no wrong for me. Everything else is just kind of He does a brilliant job playing Harold Hill in that segment of the Proms, and I've always wanted to have a chance at like performing that song because it's just so brilliant. That song is literally just like a class act above the rest, like probably better than all the other songs in the musical, even though a lot of them are very, very good, very catchy. You'll hear me saying that a lot in this video. But now, like, having become more familiar with the character of Harold Hill, knowing the story a bit more, and having watched the film version as well, I think Harold Hill is like a hardcore dream role for me if I did ever want to like go back to my dreams of being a musical theatre star. And the other songs, they're very quaint, very slight, but they're just really, really catchy. A lot of great barbershop quartet songs in here, like they are a very high point as well. But You Got Trouble is still my personal favourite, and it was a pretty big milestone for musical theatre at the time, because not that and the opening number as well, where all the men are on the train. It dabbles in rap, or at least spoken rhythmic lyrics, and that hadn't really been done before in 1957, so it was sort of the gateway into being more experimental with melodies and spoken lyrics, like speak singing and everything like that. My Fair Lady, which also was very popular with speak singing with Rex Harrison, was performed the same year as The Music Man, so it was a big year for sort of changing how musical songs and lyrics could be performed, which I think is really great. So, of course, this is a very influential musical, and it's taken me this long to discover it. Number 7, Bye Bye Birdie, music by Charles Strauss and lyrics by Lee Adams. This is another very big blind spot for me, not as big as The Music Man, but I've always heard about Bye Bye Birdie, and I've always wondered what it's about. Once I got into the story and the actual music and everything, it's not all that bad. It's meant to be a pastiche on 1950s pop culture, what was going on at the time with Elvis and celebrity culture and teenage fans and that hysteria and all that. And as it plays now, some of it still works as satire and some of it is just dated as all hell. Like 50 years on, sometimes it does get very, very like old school 1950s period piece, but most of the time it works as satire, and it still works now, like especially with the whole celebrity culture, screaming fans screaming over rock stars and pop stars like that. It's very cheesy at points. Sometimes it can get very, very cringeworthy with the teenagers, but oh my god, are those songs the catchiest things that you will ever hear, possibly ever. As soon as I started hearing more of them, they just ended up being stuck in my head. And I must say, my favourite songs are the ones performed by the Birdie of the title, Conrad Birdie, who is a pop star of the time, and his songs are sort of the basis for rock and roll musical theatre. They're not even that like rocky, and they're just very like pop rock and roll, sort of like Elvis a little bit, and they're really, really good. The basic story is that this record producer has to write a song for Conrad Birdie before he goes off to the Marines, and it's called One Last Kiss, and it's just meant to be a quick cash grab of a song, basically. But I actually really, really like that song. It's really short, it's really simple, it's really uninspired, but that's one of the catchiest songs that I've heard this year from a musical. So yeah, Bye Bye Birdie is very dated and very cheesy, whichever way you look at it, but you will not get those songs out of your head, really. No, not at all. Number 6, Man of La Mancha, music by Mitch Lee and lyrics by Joe Darian. Of course, the most famous song from this musical is The Impossible Dream, which has been used on endless amounts of car adverts, travel adverts, any type of advertising, so that's obviously the most popular song, which I knew beforehand. But the reason I got into this musical is because there is a very central female lead, basically the only real female character in the story, called Aldonza. And she gets treated very, very poorly in the musical, let's just say that. However, she has the majority of songs in the musical. She appears in a lot of the songs, and this you can put in comparison with Nancy from Oliver, which is one of my all-time favorite musicals, and Nancy is one of my all-time favorite characters. It's just very interesting that these two characters in these two musicals from the 60s have the main bulk of this musical score, and they get treated very, very badly. There's something to say about that there. But yeah, that was sort of the lead-in and how I got into this musical. Yeah, Aldonza's stuff is bad, but just looking at it musically, it's just very different from what I've heard. It's obviously got a very Spanish-inflected score. Sometimes it's just so melodramatic that you can't help but enjoy it. As well as the very overdramatic, nice, fun stuff. There's also some really nice ballads as well. As well as The Impossible Dream, there is the main love song that Don Quixote sings called Dulcinea, or Dulcinea. That's really beautiful. If you hear that, that's really nice. Looking at the different recordings for this, I became familiar with the 2002 revival with Brian Stokes Mitchell as Don Quixote, which was really nice. But I also found a recording with Placido Domingo as Don Quixote and Mandy Patinkin as Sancho, which is very strange if you listen to that recording, I'll just say that. You could say it was somewhat operatic. There is a very operatic vibe to it, like if you think of the Spanish theme and you think of Carmen and everything like that. But I just really enjoy this music. Yeah, as I said, very different from what I've heard before. Number 5, Merrily We Roll Along, music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. I did not think much of this musical when I first heard it. I know that it was a huge flop when it was first opened. It's one of the lesser Sondheim musicals that no one really talks about or likes really. And I thought, oh, go ahead, I'll give it a shot. But as I kept listening to the score, because I kept wanting to like it more, it just kept moving further and further up the list of how much I like these musicals. And hey, it ended up at the midway point in my list, which is surprising. The story is essentially about 3 kids, young adults, and their life trying to find work in show business. One's a writer, one's a lyricist, and one's a composer. They all try to make it through in their lives, and by the end of the show, their lives have all just gone to hell. They are not really friends anymore. They've had divorces, they've had marriages, they've had breakups and fights and everything, and everything's just gone wrong. The gimmick of this musical is that all of this is told backwards, so you get all of the life is hell, middle-aged characters at the beginning, and then by the end of it you see these wide-eyed, optimistic young kids at the end singing about how they're going to do so well in life. I can see the irony there, that they wanted to do. I can see what they wanted to do, but I can see how it wouldn't work with an audience. I have actually tried listening to the score chronologically, so it starts off with these kids being happy and then going downhill from there, and it plays out like a regular story. It's fine, really. So I can see why they would choose to shake things up with the chronology when it was first performed. Musically, one of the biggest reasons why this musical is in the list is purely for the song Not a Day Goes By. That is one of the best musical songs I have heard this year, and is possibly one of my favorite Sondheim songs ever. It's beautiful. It's my favorite musical song at the moment, and it's on this, and it's mainly why this musical is on the list. So go check that out. On the other hand, there is also Our Time, which is one of the last songs in the musical. I used to hate this song. I used to really, really loathe it without even knowing what the musical was about or anything. It just seemed too happy for Sondheim. If you know Sondheim's work, it just seemed too happy and optimistic and very treacly, and yeah, I was not buying it. But when you see it in context with the musical and you hear it a lot more, it's growing on me. It is growing on me. So this musical can just only get better in my eyes from now on. Number 4, Beautiful, the Carole King musical. Music and lyrics by various artists because it's a jukebox musical. Oh no, I put another jukebox musical on my list of top 10 musicals. Someone help me. This is very similar to the Jersey Boys musical, which obviously I adored from last year, still adore it now. It helps that this musical is not just based on songs by one particular artist, but it is sort of, the majority is songs written by Carole King and her partner at the time, and their rivals as well, Cynthia Weil and her partner. And that helps because then there's a variety of different songs from the 50s and 60s that you can play with within the musical. It's basically a biopic of Carole King's career, how she started off as a writer and how she went on to write all of these great songs in America. And it's also played alongside her tumultuous relationship with Jerry Goffin. I just thought it was really intriguing how the songs start off as just being standalone, as just being performances, and then they gradually interweave into the actual story and become autobiographical and comment on what's going on within the story. I just thought that was a very innovative way to go with these jukebox musicals, and the songs that they use are brilliant. Like, I guess I just have a soft spot for 50s and 60s music after Jersey Boys and now the Carole King musical. So yeah, these songs are great. The performers are great. Jessie Mueller, brilliant as Carole King. Love her voice. So it's one of the great ones of the last few years. That's what I can say. Number 3, Hamilton. Music and lyrics by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I am not giving you the top spot. I am not giving you the top spot. Oh my god, the popularity of Hamilton. There has been too much about this stupid musical that, oh yeah. I purposely waited to discover this musical, specifically for this year, because, yeah, it's quite popular. You might have heard about it. It's kind of been breaking some records recently been making history, in Broadway and music and popular culture. You may have heard of it, just a little bit. I have to give my full opinion and say that Hamilton is good. It is very good. Very, very good. That is why it's on this list. But it's overrated as all sin. Like, I am not seeing it as the future of Broadway. I am not seeing it as this amazing masterpiece by the genius of Lin-Manuel Miranda. No, it's good. It's not groundbreaking. It's good. I'd say the show starts getting good for me, musically at least, with Wait For It, which is a brilliant song, and it could easily be released as a single now, and would probably top the Billboard charts for however many weeks or so. And from Wait For It onwards, it reaches its peak at the end of Act 1. Dear Theodosia is my favourite song from Hamilton. Unpopular opinion, I know. It is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard this year. Absolutely adore it. It's great. And then, of course, your Act 1 ender is absolutely incredible too. And then once the second act comes around, it just keeps staying at a general quality level until the end. So, long story short, I like the second act better than the first act, though the first act has some of my favourite songs in it. So, oh well. It's a very, I don't want to say mixed bag, because overall it is very, very good. But I just don't understand these people who see it as some masterpiece, as some great thing that is going to come and change, to blow us all away. Oh god. Let's just pray that Lin-Manuel Miranda writes some excellent songs for Disney's Moana, which comes out at the end of this year, and let's hope that I can go back to this list and say Moana would be on my top list of 2016, like I did with Frozen in 2013 and all of that. Yeah. Number 2, On the Town. Music by Leonard Bernstein and lyrics by Betty Comden and Adolph Green. This is a very minor musical blind spot. I've always known about it. I've always known there's been 2 dance musicals. There's On the Town and An American in Paris, and I always used to get those 2 mixed up. And both of them have shown up on this list, but On the Town I just love so much more. It's basically like a versus between George Gershwin and Leonard Bernstein. These 2 incredible composers, these incredible songwriters who could not only write very catchy melodies for songs, with lyrics and everything, but very incredible instrumental music. And that's what I love the most about On the Town, is its instrumental music. Going back to that BBC Proms show that was on a few years ago that I was telling you about before, they did the Imaginary Coney Island Waltz music, just that entire section, which is about, I don't know, 7-8 minutes long, maybe 10 minutes if we're going in generally. That is one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard for musical theatre. It is one of my favourite pieces of all time, and finally listening to what it is a part of the entire musical, it's incredible. All of the music in On the Town is brilliant. I have to say my favourite cast recording of this is the new one when it was revived in 2014. There is just so much music on that cast recording. Brilliant performances, brilliant instrumental music, brilliant songs. Like, I say this as like, oh, it's so emotional, deep music, and it's so beautiful and lush. There's a lot of stupidness in this musical. There is a lot of very farcical, over-the-top, melodramatic moments in it, and they make me laugh. They're really funny, like melodrama, over the top played for comedy always gets me. Sometimes it's a little bit unbalanced compared to the beautiful, lush, dramatic music of the instrumentals, but I don't care. Like, all of this music is brilliant. All of it is great. That imaginary Coney Island waltz is incredible. But I would love to see this live. I would love to see these dances. I just would love to see the imaginary Coney Island waltz danced. It would be amazing. And the closest I have to seeing that is in the film that they made with Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra and that other guy that no one else remembers. That film as a whole is not a great adaptation of On the Town musically, because it cuts everything, almost everything, and adds new songs, and it's not great. It cuts down the imaginary Coney Island waltz, which obviously will not fly with me, but it does have my favourite part of the waltz in there. It is danced by Gene Kelly and his love interest, and it's brilliant, and it's the closest thing I can get to seeing that choreography, just seeing On the Town danced in front of me. I would absolutely adore to see this live, but I don't see it happening, so I just have to stick with the cast recording, which I'm gonna say again for the millionth time is brilliant. Alright, so I had trouble choosing the number 2 and the number 1 spots, just like I did last time I ranked the top 10 musicals, and I'm kind of in the same situation as I was then, because number 1 is... Number 1, The Bridges of Madison County, music and lyrics by Jason Robert Brown. I love being predictable. Jason Robert Brown has not written a lot of shows, and I don't want to discover them all at once because they just fill up a list of musicals every year, so I'm trying to like sort of space them out. So I did only discover one Jason Robert Brown musical, and it's this one, and what do you know, it's number 1. It was a very close call. It was very close. You just heard me talk about how much I adore the music for On the Town. That would have been number 1. It was for a very long time, but I just ended up switching between this On the Town and Bridges of Madison County, because every time I went back to Bridges of Madison County, I fell in love with it over and over again. It was like falling in love every time I listened to it. It was just like coming home. It was just so familiar. Like, Jason Robert Brown, he doesn't have to change for me. He doesn't look like he's changing with every show he does, and that's perfectly fine with me. And of course, I'm a huge fan of him. Of course this is going to be number 1. Though I have to admit, it is not the best show on this list. If this was like a top 10 ranking of the best shows that I discovered, oh, it would be nowhere near. It would be nowhere near the best. It's a very simple show. There's about 6 or 7 people in the cast, as well as an ensemble-ish. But the story is mainly these 2 people who just meet by chance. They fall in love. They stay in love, but they know they can't be together, and so they go their separate ways, but will always have the memories of each other. And the problem is that the main character, Francesca, played by the amazing Kelly O'Hara, is a married woman. So I thought the story was gonna be very, very predictable. Like, oh, her family goes away, she has an affair by herself, they're gonna come back, the husband's gonna find out, and everything like that. But that's not what happens. No. Instead, they have this time together, the main couple, and then once Francesca's family comes back, they forget about it. They don't. It's just gone. It's just one moment in the space of time. And if you've heard the music and the lyrics, the songs in the show, you can see how that all ties in beautifully. The way Jason Robert Brown represents the main couple's relationship musically is sort of playing it as one long song. Another reason why this is not the best musical on this list is because a lot of the songs do sound the same. Most of them are written in 3/4 time, mainly for Francesca, who is the main character. And yeah, there's a lot of waltzing, there's a lot of country vibes to the score. It can all sound very, very similar if you listen to it in one go. But the waltzes basically embody Francesca and Robert's relationship. That's very clear in that none of the other characters have 3/4 time songs. So it makes it even more clearer that this 3/4 time, this waltz, their relationship is just one long waltz. It starts and it ends, and you can just see it all. It is beautiful. The music is glorious. The lyrics, as always, are so natural, so real. Kelly O'Hara, I thought she was going to annoy me because the character is Italian, and she does have an Italian accent as she sings. When I first heard the songs, it got very, very annoying. Like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this, but as I listen to it more and more, it's great. And Kelly O'Hara's voice is just, it's stunning. It's stunning. What else can you say? So I might be feeling guilty in a couple of years about putting this as number one, because that is how I feel about 2014's list. If you didn't watch that, or if you don't remember, I put Jason Robert Brown's Parade as number one, and I put Will Finn's Falsettos, March of the Falsettos in Falsetto Land, as number two. I regret that immensely now, 2 years later, because Parade I don't love it as much now. Falsettos has stayed at the quality, at the amount of love I have for it. It has just stayed at, like, possibly even more. So I do deeply regret putting Parade above Falsettos. I hope I haven't made the same mistake of putting the Bridges of Madison County above On the Town, but as it is, in this moment, Bridges of Madison County is my favourite musical that I've discovered this year. I absolutely adore it. It's Jason Robert Brown. What did you expect of me? I'm predictable as hell. On the Town is brilliant too. Maybe I should just put them as a tie. Maybe. Who knows? So those are my favourite musicals that I discovered this year. Sorry if I've gone on for too long yet again. And sorry if I've been kind of lazy this year with it. If you do want to find out more about these musicals, go and discover them for yourself. Go and keep discovering musicals, like some you like, some you don't like, everything like that, all that good stuff. Before I go, I just want to plug my new WordPress blog. I've made a blog basically for essays on musical theatre. What I've been doing this year is basically throwing myself into the pool of academia and not getting myself out anytime soon. And the academia I've been reading is mainly to do with music. I'm going back to uni in September, taking a music course. But what I'm specialising in is, of course, musical theatre. And going even further than that, gender and sexuality in musical theatre. Obviously, not a lot has been written about this. So I'm basically trying to read as much as I can about musical theatre, about gender and music and sexuality and music and just in pop culture in general, to try and write just generally some essays that I feel I haven't found yet and would like to write. And as sort of a test run, I'm just sort of writing on this blog. I must admit I haven't written a lot. I think there's like 3 posts on there already, but I have ideas. And like with every new article or book I read, I'll always have some inspiration for another possible essay I can write about. But if you're interested in reading that stuff, you can go to the link, which should be underneath right now. Go to that, read what I've written so far. Most of what I've written could be absolute awful, pointless waffle that does not make any sense at all. Again, I have not done academic writing in about a year or 2. So I'm just trying to like warm myself up and get back into writing and the academia while going back to uni in September. So wow, this is a long, pointless plug, as you would expect. So go to that. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far, and keep discovering new musicals. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Then you got yourself